All right, so let's get to... Now, the reason I'm starting with the fourth Aliyah is because you can see, if you want to supplement your teaching, go out and check out the first 3 Aliyot. They're out there on the YouTube channel. Here is the fourth Aliyah. So the fourth Aliyah starts with chapter 24, and we go all the way... chapter 24, verse 27, and then we go all the way through verse 52. So let's do that. Let's look at it. Tet asks, do the Muslims come from them? Originally, yes, Islam started among the Arabs. That's right. So, interestingly enough, if the Book of Jubilees is to be believed, then at least some of their blood came from Abraham. Yeah? Of course, they were mixed. Even the Book of Jubilees says they are absorbed and mixed with the other peoples, right? So the Arabs were a mixed peoples, right? It's not like they're just from Abraham. There were already peoples there, and they mixed with them like that. Okay, verse Kaf Zayin, that's 27. Vayomer Baruch Hu Adonai Elohei Adoni Avraham Asher Lo Azav Chazdo Vamito Me'im Adoni. Okay, we end there because that's our Etnachta mark. Why is it not drawing? Come on, draw. Hey, it decided to. Okay. And he said, blessed is Adonai, the God of my master, Abraham, who did not abandon Chazdo, his clan loyalty, right? His loving kindness, his clan loyalty, i.e. his loyalty to Abraham, Va'amito, and his emet, his truth, his fidelity. He's true to his words. Me'im Adonai, from with my master. It's very interesting to see how the servant thinks about things, that the concept of the chesed of Hashem and the emet of Hashem, it's almost like they're dwelling with his master, right? He's from with my master. Anochi baderech nachani Adonai beit achei Adoni. I, myself, on the path, Adonai led me to the house of the brother of my master, right? And regarding the steadfast, this emet, this faithfulness, Kimchi in the miqraot gadol, he comments, rather this means his kindness and his reliability, these two things together, right? So he's treating it like a hendiadis, which could be, we have a conjunctive accent here, right, showing that these two thoughts are combined. So oftentimes in Hebrew, when you have two words show up together, they kind of exhibit a related meaning together, more than they might have independently, you see? Like I mentioned, warm and cozy in English, right, is a hendiadis. Right? Warm, it's a temperature thing. Cozy, the house is kind of small, but not too small. It's a nice feeling, right? But warm and cozy, it's kind of a different feeling that's expressed about those two. Like you're content. It expresses contentness. So Kimchi is saying something similar here. He doesn't call it hendiadis, but that's what it's called grammatically. That chesed and emet, when they're together like this, referring to Hashem, it's something like steadfast faithfulness, right? Or kindness and reliability, something like that. And so he says, Kimchi says from this, in the Rabbinical Bible, we learn that if a person is aiming, their yara, the root of the Torah, at doing something tov, it is only yashar, it's only upright, that Elohim should help that person to achieve their goal. That is what we mean when we talk about his reliability, his chesed and emet. But his chesed by itself, his loving kindness, implies even more than this. In this particular example, he provides Yitzchak with a wife from his father's family. Right? It's like it's so precise. Not just his people, but his actual family. It relates back to the Achi Adoni, the brother of my master. Right? So really, really quite amazing. Verse Kafchet, that's 28. V'tachatz hana'ara v'taged levet imah. Pardon me, imah. There's an aspirated hay there. We exaggerated a little bit. So taratz is kind of hard to see. This is from roots, right? Resh, vav, tzadi. Roots, like you might say, slicha, ani tzarich larutz. Sorry, I got to run, right? So roots is to run. Taratz means she will run, but this is vav here. It swaps the time. So, and she ran. Who? Hana'ara. The last ran. Vataged. And she told, or she related to, Levet Ima, the house of her mother. Ima, that's what that is at the end there. Ka devarim ha'ele, according to these words. Verse Kaf Tet, so 29. Ula Rivka, ach ushmu Lavan. And Rivka had, it's literally to Rivka, there was a brother, and Shemo, his, this is like, in Tagalog, like Nya, like Shem Nya, right? And his name was Lavan. Vayaratz Lavan el ha'ish hachutza el ha'ayin. And Lavan ran to the man outside, to the outside, all the way to the ayin, to the eye, or really to the well, right? A well is like the eye of the earth, right? That's kind of how it's considered in Hebrew. That's one way to say it. We have the we have ayin, right? It's like a source, like ishtochnik, right? Naruskam isa, right? So there can be like the source, or it can actually be a well even, right? And so in this case, so other cultures do this too. So why did he run? Well, Rashi says he ran because he saw the nose ring and he thought, this guy's loaded. I'm going to get some of that loot. So we're seeing already the wickedness of Lavan, according to our tradition at least. Sforno says that he ran out just because he wanted to see the rich guy who's passing through. Like, it's kind of boring if you live way out in the province, right? Way out in a place like this. And so when a rich guy passes through, well, let's go see what happened, right? Isaac remarks that in Arabic and Aramaic, it also means well. Oh, okay. Eye also in the nose. Nice comment. So we see this concept of the eye being a well, right? Verse 30. Vahi kirot et hanezem ve'et hatzemidim al yedei achoto ucheshem'o et divrei Rivka achoto lemo kol diber elai ha'ish. We'll stop there because that's the end of clause marker. And it was, so here we have, this is when you have a active participle like this and a kaf comes in front of it, it means when. Okay, so, and it was when he saw the nezem, right, the nose ring. This isn't like a hole pierced in the nose, right? We're told by Ibn Ezra that back then there would be a nose ring, it like had a clasp, and there's a chain that would go up to the forehead, and then there's a headband that actually bore the weight of it. Right, so it's not like a bull has that nasty-looking ring. You might see some hippie with a pierced nose or something like that. No, that's not what it means. This is talking about... and by the way, if you ladies have a pierced nose, nothing wrong with that. But it's like, I'm just saying that this is the tradition of what it was. There's a chain from the forehead that's supporting the weight of it. And the tzemadim, these are the bracelets or armlets on the arms of his sister. And when he heard the words of Rivka, Achoto, that's Achot Nya, his sister, Lemor, saying, Kol diber elai ha'ish, the man said such to me. Vayavo el ha'ish, vehine omed al ha'gemalim al ha'ayin. Then he went to the man, and behold, or look, omed, he was standing. We have to say was. It's not like modern Hebrew where the participle means present tense. In biblical Hebrew, it just assumes whatever time we're already in. And since we have Yavo, means he will come, Vayavo means and he came, right? So we have to do past in English, otherwise it sounds weird. Unless you're doing historical present, you could say, and he's standing al ha'gemalim, by the, or with the camels, al ha'ayin, at the source, at the spring. Verse Lamed Aleph, 31. Esau mentions, we have an area called the Eyes of the Valley, a valley full of wells. Ooh, that sounds so mystical and creepy, actually. The hills have eyes, the valley has eyes. It's the eyes of the valley. I like that. That's an interesting tidbit. 31. Vayomer bo baruch Adonai. And he said, when he came, blessed be Adonai. Lama, why? Tamo bachutz, why do you stand outside? Vanochi paniti habayit. And I myself have turned towards the house. Umakom la gemalim. And to the place of the camels. Lamed can mean of. That's why I go with of here. We learned this from Ugaritic. It doesn't necessarily have to mean 2 or 4. And here with verse 31, Rashi comments, look, the reason he's saying the house is prepped already, that's what he means. He means I prepared the house. It means I've cleared the house. Why, so what's he mean by cleared the house? Rashi's hinting that there was idol worship going on there. and they understood already who this was, right? That this is a person who will not tolerate idol worship. And so the house was cleared of all of its idols. They're hidden. Because you remember later on, Lavan, when he later has his idol stolen, right? And he's not happy about it. Right? And so there's a whole drama that lays out from that. Isa says, yeah, Ayun al-Wadi. Very interesting. Ayun al-Wadi. Oh yeah, I remember when I was in a car going to Egypt one time, going to Cairo, and the guy couldn't speak any English, and I was trying to talk to him in Hebrew, and we found a lot of common words between Egyptian Arabic and Hebrew, and I remember learning that ayin, right, was also, well, I remember that now, that thought just came back. Very interesting. Okay. 32. Vayavo ha'ish habaita vayiftach hagemalim. Then the man came towards the house and he opened up the camel. What is that talking about? It just means he's taking off their saddles, right? He's letting them relax. He didn't open them up and spill their guts. It's not like Empire Strikes Back, slices one open and puts somebody inside. Vayiten teven umispo lagamalim umayim virchotz raglav v'raglei hanashim asher ito. Okay, so we can really learn about how a righteous person behaves. So before he goes on to transact the business, he gives food to the camels, straw and fodder to the camels. Interestingly enough, this word, mispo, maybe we'll talk about that. Okay, to the camels, and water to wash his feet, and water for the men who were with him. Right, so he's caring about the servants who are with him, the lower level servants, and also the animals. Right, so you should always make sure if there are animals that Hashem brings into your domain, right? Street animals, maybe they're not yours. When they come into your domain, you make sure that they're fed, they're drink, that this is part of Tikkun Olam. Hashem has brought them to you. And so you can show this kindness. So that here he's making sure before he goes about his business, even though it's the business of his master Abraham, who's a pure tzaddik, he still is making sure that the people that are with him are okay. Look, their feet are washed. It's kind of like Yeshua-like actions we see from Eliezer here. Right? He's really, really a righteous servant. He's the one who's on top. He's the chief servant of Avram's household. We're told in previously that he's zaken beveto, that he grew old in his house even, right? But he's doing these things that he learned from Avraham, how to treat people. He's being hospitable even though he's out traveling now. Verse Lamed Gimel 33. Vayusam lifanav lechol vayomer lo ochal ad im dibarti devarai. And this is Hufal, was placed before him to eat, but he said, Lo, I will not ochal. He didn't say al, he said lo, I'm not going to eat, lo ochal ad, until im dibarti, until I have spoken devarai, like spoken my piece, something like that, literally spoken my words. Why there's no et here? I think this is kind of more indication that his Hebrew is not perfect, right? So for any Hebrew students are like, why is there not an et? It should be et devarai. That's true. But this guy, I think Hebrew is a second language for him. Vayomer, and he said, and he said, so presumably this is Lavan saying, Daber, speak. Go ahead. What's keeping you speak? And it's interesting, commenting on this, Abarbanel in the Miqraot Gadol, he says, we find out that he would not eat. This makes the language that's used here reminds one of Mishlei 4:17 that says, "Ki lachamu lechem rasha v'yayin chamasim yishtu," but they ate the food, the bread of resha, of wickedness, of evil, and the wine of chamasim, of violence or injustice, yishtu, they drank. And so he's using the Gezerah Shava technique to look at the words here and how they show up in Proverbs. That we see this about the servant, that he understands that there might be some idolatry that happens here. And so he's also being careful before he eats that everything has been cleansed. And it says that I would add that to those who study about the story of Eliezer, to carefully search out why there is this seeming repetition in the Torah. It is to demonstrate the way that he approached life. It turns out that Eliezer makes 10 alterations in it, and from that we already have read each is for a specific reason. In an example, it says he does not repeat what Abraham said about the Lord taking him from my father's house and from my native land. He doesn't tell them that information. Why? Because this might reflect badly on them, you see. So he's very careful, he's cordial, he's pursuing the mission, he's keeping to the values he's learned. And Abarbanel points out that it's worthy to study the way this servant acts, because this indeed was a tzaddik. Remember, Avraham Avinu wanted to give him everything that he had before he had any kind of son at all. And so Avraham understood what a good servant this was and how respectable he was. Verse 34, Vayomer Eved Avraham Anochi. And he said, Eved Avraham Anochi, I am the servant of Avraham. 35, Vadonai berach et Adoni me'od, and Adonai has blessed exceedingly my master. And this word usually means material blessings, right? Not like he just feels good or something, right? That's why in the Birkat HaKahanim, when we say Yevarechecha Adonai v'Yishmaecha, really it's asking for visible, tangible blessings in life, right? It can be offspring, it can be loot, right? Money, it can be, a better office in your work, a higher standing, etc. This is usually how barach is used, right? So he's telling him, look, my master's rich, okay? Which is normal when trying to convince a family to give their daughter. She's not going to starve with my master. Vayigdal, and he has become great. Vayiten lo tzon, and we're given to him tzon. This is Natan, in case you don't recognize it. Natan, the noon. See the dot here? It's telling us it's hiding inside the tav. It was given to him tzon, so flock, vakar, and herd, the chesed, and silver, the zahav, and gold, the avadim, and servants, like me, the shefachot, and virgin maidservants, ugamalim, and camels, the chamorim, and donkeys. 36. Vatelet Sarah eshet Adoni. Now, Sarah, the wife of my master, this is from Yalad, it's Yod, the Yod disappears oftentimes, has given birth for my master a bain, a son, Ladoni, to my master. Acharei ziknata, after she already was old. Vayiten lo et kol ashalo, and he's given him everything which he has. In other words, he's loaded. Your daughter's going to be fine, your sister's going to be fine, and their offspring's going to be fine. Lamed Zayin. Vayashbi eini adoni lemor. Now my master has forced me. He made me swear an oath. This is causative. He forced me to swear an oath, saying, Tikach isha livni mibunot haknaani asher anochi yoshev be'artzo. You shall not, this is lakach, the lamed disappears, you shall not take a woman for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites. This is the daughters of the Canaanites. Hebrew students, it's a construct, right? Construct chain here. So that's how you know to say the, right? Canaanite is definite, so it makes the whole chain definite. From the daughters of the Canaanites. And then really we would, again, the servant speaking a little bit oddly here. There should be a bait here. With whom, right? So it's really nice in the Torah. You can see it's really accurately representing the stories of these speakers, even to the point of dialectical differences and just different speech patterns, right? You can see it. This is something that you totally lose in English or other translations. So with whom I am living in his land. Verse 38. Imlo el beit avi telech el mishpachati, mishpachti. If not, then unto the house of my father. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you should go. Sorry, there's a little idiomatic thing happening here. If when you go to the house of my father, you should go to mishpachati, mishpachti, mishpacha, mishpachti. It becomes my family, my mishpocha in Yiddish. Velakachta, and you should take isha, a woman, leave me for my son, i.e., from there. Verse 39. Va'omar el Adoni. Then I said to my master, Ulai lo telech ha'isha achrei. Perhaps, interesting, the text is missing a vav here. I'm not sure what to make of that. Maybe for gematria reasons. Oh, pardon me, it should be here. Ulai lo telech, perhaps the woman will not go. This is halach, although Ibn Ezra thinks this is yelech. I think it's halach. Anyway, the woman will not go acharai, after me. Right? So the servant's covering his bases. He wants to be a good servant. Isa comments that in his Hebrew text, in Biblia Hebraica, it has a different nikudot to the word vayusam. And he put, and was put, oh, it said so, and he put instead of it was placed. Interesting, which sounds more like, and it was put. Why is that? Yeah, I'm not sure why BHS updates that. Did you check the critical apparatus, Esau, to see what it says? Like, are they saying in Septuagint it's this way? BHS usually will correct if there's extant manuscripts that have a different witness enough, and if you also find it in the ancient versions, right? Like it might say in Targum Onkelos and also in Septuagint it's this way, right? So they might be presupposing an active form there. No, but there is a different version underneath. Interesting. Yeah, let's look into that offline. That's a fun find. Thanks for discovering that. Very interesting. With Evolve. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I don't know why right now. If we look into it afterwards, we can probably find out. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Verse Mem. So this is verse 40. Vayomer Alai, and he said to me, Adonai asher hithalachti. Hashem, with whom, again the servant is leaving out the bait here, with whom I have walked to and fro. This is the hitpael form of that, back and forth. The fanav before him. Yishlach malacho, he will send his angel itach with you. V'hitzliach darkecha v'dakachta isha livni min mishpachti. And he will cause success. This is Hethil, right? He will cause success of your path, your derech, darkecha, v'dakachta, when you take a woman for my son, min mishpachti, from my family, umi beit avi, and from the house of my father. It's interesting. So the Rashbam says that this language is, he's showing, Avraham is showing his servant, don't worry. I've got bitachon. Avraham has confidence. He's not just saying this is, maybe it'll work out, blah, blah, blah. He has the confidence because he's seen Hashem answer his prayers so many times before. So he's saying, don't worry, this is going to happen. That's how the Rashbam interprets this. It's going to happen. You don't have to worry. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. 41. Az tinake me elati ki tavo el mishpachti. But he's still putting the servant's mind at ease. He says, then you will be naki, you will be innocent. Me alati, and Allah ends with the hay. The hay became a tav here, guys. So if you're not, and Allah is an oath, right? Though it can actually mean curse in context too. So from my oath, you'll be innocent from my oath. Ki tavo el mishpachti. After you go, because you went to my family. Ve'im lo yitnu lach ve'haita naki me alati. And if they do not give to you, then you will be naki, you'll be innocent from my oath. Okay, so that's good. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. I'm not going to judge you for this. Okay. Verse 42. Va'avo hayom el ha'ayin. So he's still telling the story. So this vav is probably when. It's probably when instead of and. So when I came, so avo means I will come. The vav swaps the time. When I came today to the spring, Va'omar Adonai Elohei Adoni Avraham. Then I said, O Adonai, the God of my master Avraham, Im Yeshechana, if you have now, or if you, literally it says, if you have now, Im Yeshechana, if you have, please, it's in his weird way of talking, Matzliach Taki, make successful my derech, Asher Anochi Holech, on which I am walking, Aleha, upon it. Rashi says that when it says Hayom, it's saying the same day, i.e. the very same day that I left. So there's actually a tradition, there's a midrash that tells us that the earth actually folded up, right? That the earth folded up for Eliezer. It's really interesting. If any of you are into sci-fi and you like the Dune movies or the Dune books, where they have a special spice for folding space-time, right? And there's some theories about this, that the only way to really travel to distant stars is, apart from a wormhole, is if you can actually bend space, right? And in physics, you actually can do this, but it's just the energy is too crazy, right, for us to be able to do it. So there's actually a midrash that Hashem bent the earth for Eliezer, so that the same day he left is the day that he arrived. Right? That's interesting. That's Rashi's alluding to this midrash here. All right, 43. Hinei anochi nitzav al ayin hamayim. Look, behold, I myself, nitzav, I station myself. And as we mentioned before, in the Mechilta, the Mechilta Bar Yochai, we learned that, Shimon Bar Yochai, we learned that whenever you see nitzav in Torah, instead of amad, he could have said amad, he said I was standing, but instead natzav, this is a hint from the text that Ruach HaKodesh is present there, right? Which of course was true because we see how could the timing work out, right? For Rivka to be approaching when the servant's there, etc. It's like Hashem retroactively answered his prayer, right? Really quite amazing. Made time work out so that everything worked out. So I stationed myself by the ayin, by the eye, by the spring of water. V'haya ha'alma hayotzet lishov v'amati eleha hishkinina me'at mayim mikadech. Then it was that when the alma, the maiden was coming out to draw water, that I said unto her, give me please to drink a little bit of water from your ched, right, from your jug. Now, the Masorah points out something interesting here, that the phrase, this particular phrase, the young woman, ha'alma, it only occurs here and in Shemot 2:8 and in Yeshayahu 7:14. That's the Masorah, the comments in the side of the Bible, the original Bible. I mean, in our tradition, very interesting. And Chizkuni comments that the servant uses an Aramaic word here because he thought that was the only language they knew. That's why he says alma instead of betullah here, right? That apparently in those days that was the Aramaic word for betullah, right? That alma actually did mean virgin in those times in Aramaic, right? Which I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I read some years back that the gimimi that actually is Aramaic, give me to drink, but it's probably a different dialect. That might be why. We'll have to look into that later and see. So that's Chizkuni commenting on why it says Betullah before, and now we just get Alma, just a maiden. Okay, 44. Ve'amara elai gam ata shte ve'gam ligmalecha eshav. And she said to me, also you drink, and also for your camels, eshav, I will draw water. Hi haisha asher hochiach Adonai leven Adoni. Very nice. So this was the woman who, like Hashem had caused to be there for the son of my master. So he's speaking quite boldly now. Oops. Verse 45. Anitem achale ledaber libi v'hinei Rivka yotzet v'chadaha השכמה, ותרד העינה, ותשב. I myself, before I had finished speaking on what was in my heart, then behold, Rivka was coming with her jug on her shoulder. And she went down, this is Yarad, if you don't recognize it, Yarad, the Yod disappears, Yod Resh Dalet, to go down, and she was going down towards the ayin. This is Hilak, the direction of the well. And she drew up, meaning she drew up water. Valmar Eleha, Ashkini Naha. And I said unto her, give me now to drink. Verse 46. Vatimaher, and she hurried up. Vatored, and she went, and she lowered Kada, her jug, mi aleha, from upon her. Vatomer, and she said, Shtei v'gam gemalecha eshke. And she said, drink, and also your camels I will give to drink. Va'esht v'gam ha'gemalim hishkata. And I will give to drink, and also the camels she gave to drink. Verse 47. Va'eshal otah. And I asked from her, I inquired of her, Valmar, and I said, Bat miat. Whose daughter are you? The daughter of whom are you, is how it says in Hebrew. Vatoma, and she said, Bat Betuel ben Nachor, asher yaleda lo Milka. The daughter of Bethuel, the son of Nahor, whom had birth for him Milka. Va'asim haneziv al apa. So he already saw that there's the three things he's looking for, right? He's looking for a beautiful girl. He's looking for a Betullah, a virgin, right? And a girl who has good midot, right? Good characteristics, that she doesn't fight with people, but instead she's got good hospitality. And the third thing is that she's from the right family. She's from Abraham's relatives, from his kin, from his moledet, right? And so now he's seen the other two things. He asks her, whose daughter are you? He can see with his eyes she's beautiful. He sees how she's behaving. And then he asks, whose daughter are you? And as soon as she says she's from the right family, now he puts the gold on her, right? He places the nose ring on her nose and the bracelets on her arms. Verse 48. It's interesting that he shares this with this family. He says, then I bent the knee and I prostrated all the way down to Adonai. Vavorech et Adonai Elohei Adoni Avraham asher hinchani b'derech emet lakachat et bat achi Adoni livno. Then I blessed Adonai, the God of my master Avraham, whom had guided me. This is the same word we have in Psalm 23, where we say, Adonai guides me to still waters. On the path of emet, the path of fidelity, of truthfulness, lakachat, in order to take the daughter of the brother of my master for his son. Right? So he's very, very bold now in what he knows is a fact. So we can learn from his actions that when we know Adonai has done something for us, and it involves some unbelievers, that we should indeed be bold in sharing with them what has happened. Verse 49, V'ata im yeshchem osim chesed ve'emet et Adoni, hagidu li. So now, if there exists chem to you all, if you have osim, the doing or the works of chesed, the idea to do chesed, to do loving kindness, to do clan loyalty because you're in his family, the emet and truthfulness, or steadfast kindness, as Chizkuni had commented. We have the Hindiadis here. To my master, nagid is the verb here, guys, in case you're wondering what the root is, nun, gimel, dalet. Then tell me, v'imlo, hagiduli, but if not, tell me, v'efne, and I will turn al yamin, to the right, o al simol, or to the left. Verse 50. V'ya'an Lavan uvetuel v'yomu me'adonai yatsa hadavar. This is anna, in case you're wondering the verb. It's ayin nun hey. The hey disappeared. It's a lamed hey verb. They do that. Then Lavan and Betuel answered, and they said, from Adonai has come forth the thing, right? This affair. Lo nuchal, we are not able to daber, speak elecha unto you, ra o tov, good or evil, right? This is also a Hebrew idiom that means anything. We're not able to tell you anything, right? It's not that they're literally saying we can't tell you, you bleeping bleep, like something evil or something good. It means everything, right? That's why in the Gan Eden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil can be interpreted to mean the tree of the knowledge of everything, right? Like opens up your mind to being able to learn anything. If you didn't recognize the verb, it's yachal, yod. That's a yod. Sorry for my terrible yod there. Yod, kaf, lamed, and the yod can disappear. It can become a shurik or whatever, or wow. This happens. Okay? And the Rashi, he comments, Lavan was wicked. And we see this in that he actually answers before his father. Even his name is put first in the text, Lavan uvetuel, right? It's quite interesting, right? And when they say good or evil, that we cannot refuse either with a bad argument or with a good and correct one, since, according to what you've said, this was decreed by Hashem and arranged for you to encounter her, right? All right. And Abarmanel comments in the Gedolot, the Rabbinical Bible, he says regarding their answering him, that Ulai, perhaps speaking last, so he's arguing with Rashi, was actually a sign of respect, right? As in what happens in a Beit Din. In a Beit Din, the youngest scholar, the youngest judge will speak first, and the oldest will speak last, right? It's like they're always training, they're always allowing the younger rabbis to keep growing, and then finally the older guys will lay down the law and say, look, here's the real deal. Corky asks, hold on, there's something about that. Let me scroll up to what I missed. Isa says it's interesting that Bethuel used the tetragrammaton. Yeah, it is. It is. But it's also possible, you should always understand, when you see the tetragrammaton in the Torah at a time before Hashem's name was revealed, this could be the updating activities of later scribes, right? Because there's a time where the Baal worship is very sneaky. And so I'm just saying maybe. I'm not saying this is the case, so don't stone me yet. The Baal worship is very sneaky, right? So the way that they seduce the Israelites is you've got the top of the pantheon, his name is El, or Elu, depending on pronunciation, right? El. So the head god is God, right? Just like in Hebrew we say he's El. And then underneath him, El has a wife, Ashtaroth, and they have a son, Baal, right? So the son of El is Baal, right? And so you can kind of see how it's sneaky and being similar to the Bible, right? And so when you see El or Elohim, there's some conjecture that maybe the Canaanites say, yeah, it's El. That's what it's talking about, right? Its actual name. And so that we do have evidence in certain parts of the Bible that the text was updated some of the language was updated at some point in time to biblical Hebrew back in those days. Still thousands of years ago, but not as archaic, right? That there was maybe we could call them holy editors or inspired editors, that they updated the text. And so what might be happening when you see Yod-He, Waw-He, but yet it's pointed, the Masorah is telling us this, to pronounce it Adonai, that the way it was memorized by them was Adonai, right? But the text says Yod-He, Waw-He, so we don't dare to change the text. At this point in time, scribes are no longer in the business of editing the text, of updating the text. And so it might not be that they're actually saying Tetragrammaton, but they actually are saying Adonai, and that the scribes later are saying this is Yod-He, Waw-He. So it's written Yod-He, Waw-He, right? So that there can be no argument. This isn't Elohim, right? Or this isn't a different Adon, right? Meaning the masters who are the pantheon of Ugrit, but this is actually Yod-He, Waw-He, right? So that the Ketiv, the written form is Yod-He, Waw-He, but that we say Adonai because that's how our ancestors memorized the text. You see what I'm saying, Isa? So it might not actually be that they're referencing Yod-He, Waw-He. It might actually be that they're referencing Adonai there. Okay. Verse 51. Hinei, Rivka lefanecha, kach valech. Look, Rivka is before you, take and go. Utehi isha leven adonecha, and she will be a isha for the son of your master. Ka'asher diber Adonai, as Adonai said to you. Verse 52. Vahi ka'asher shama Eved Avraham et divreihem veishtachu arza Adonai. And it was when the servant of Avraham, Shama, when he heard divreihem, their devarim, that he prostrated down towards the ground. This means face first. The hilacative, towards Eretz, Ladonai, to Adonai. Very interesting. He's again demonstrating the proper behavior that Hashem had heard his prayer. Korki asks, regarding the feeding of an animal, what if those strayed animals or other cat are bullying our own pets? That if you feed them, they will want more. That's an interesting halakhic question, Korki. Yeah. In such a case, you don't have to. Of course, your own beloved pet has priority. You don't make your own family suffer because of your tzedakah, right? So you wouldn't give away food to a homeless person and have your own children starve, right? So I think we can definitely draw a parallel to there. So if that's the case, if it's a bullying animal, then maybe don't do it, or try to feed them outside the gate, perhaps, that they learn that's when they, you can feed food to your own animals, and what they don't eat, that's what you give to the bully outside the gate, if that's possible. If there's some kind of segregation like that, that's a nice question. Let me make sure the questions are rolling over here. I might have, because I scrolled up a bit. Corky says Lavan means white. What is the significance of this in his character or this personality? The fact that his name is white. Yeah, that's... it means the honkies can't be trusted. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it probably just means that when he was born, he looked very white, right? We see a lot of times the way that people did things back. They called Yaakov because he's grabbing the heel. Oh, he's Healy, right? Esau gets the name Harry. What a horrible name. Imagine that's your name. Oh, he's Harry. Because his name is close to the word for hair, right? So I'm imagining maybe when he was born, maybe there wasn't good blood flow to his head or something, so he looked whiter or redder. Esau says, Rabbi, it's interesting that Bethuel used the... Okay, we comment on that. Good, okay. Okay. I'm not sure what you mean by number 2 only, Corky. Esau says, doesn't the scribe redaction of the text mess up the gematria? Maybe it was the setting of the gematria, that redaction of the text, right? We oftentimes oversimplify providence. Providence of the text does not mean that everything had to be exactly perfect initially when it was written. But it means instead, Hashem, he could send a holy editor, right? He can send someone to update, to make the proper words so that the gematria would work, right? Janine says, there's no mention of Rivka's being assured that she'll be safe going with Avram's servant. So she just obeyed? Well, look, I think they could judge by his character, by he's putting the gifts, he's excited, he's prostrating down to Hashem. Sometimes you can tell when someone's fake, like when they're plastic, and you can tell when they really are the real deal. And they see the wealth, and they know Avraham. Surely the brothers knew each other, right? So there's he's family, right? And so everything he's saying makes sense. It's the right God that he worships, right? And all this stuff. So I think they weren't really so worried that they're going to rape her once they leave the camp or something like that. But surely it was scary going to another country. That might be why they wanted her to stay. He said he had Lavan supremacy. Right, like Corky, even the area north of Israel is called, in Hebrew, the region's called the White. Lebanon, it's called Halavanon, the White, right, the white area. Presumably because they have mountain peaks that get covered with snow and stuff like this. Yeah, Isa says because of the snow. Exactly. Yeah, so, ancient peoples, they just name stuff in this way, right? Who knows, maybe he was whiter than other people around him. Maybe he was an albino, right? This happens. Even among Africans, sometimes someone is born as an albino. They're missing the pigmentation, right, that would cause the coloration of the skin. So instead, it's totally white skin, light blue eyes. It can happen. Esau says in Arabic, Lavan means milk or yogurt. Interesting. Also white things, right? Or lebna. Oh, lebna. I love lebna. I want some lebna. Oh, so nice. Okay, continuing on.